This is a follow-up to the previous exercise. We're going to make an application which is a little more practical. I'm going to start off making a new project. And let's call it folders. Now in this application what we're going to do is, let's make this a little bigger. Let's add a button. And another button. And this one, let's change the name to button. Folder browser. And on this one, let's call this our button for our grid. And this one we're going to change the grid. So let's just put grid on here. And this is not going to be the most attractive application, but it will do for what we're doing. Okay, the next thing we want to do is let's drop a grid on here. So if we go to data grid view, and let's drop that on there. And let's spread this out just a little bit. Now let's add a couple labels on here. And let's see, go back up. First label, let's put it over the grid. And let's give it a name. LVL grid. And we're going to keep it blank for now. So let's delete the text. And our second label, let's kind of do the same thing. We're going to make the text go away, and let's give it a name of LBL. So for the folder browser, let's go and get a dialog box, folder browser dialog, and we'll just drop that on there. Okay, so we have an instance of folder browser dialog. So let's go ahead and add our coding. Well, that's still not even, is it? There we go, a little bit better. Okay, let's do the folder browser first. So I've got some of this code already written, so I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to add this. I may copy from here and plunk this in. Now, this is pretty simple code. It just creates a variable for the folder browser dialog. And then we go in and we have a root folder, but we're also going to have a selected path to start off with. So this is what's going to be selected when it first pops up. But we're also going to let the user select the directory to display the grid. And for that we're going to say when the dialog box, the results, we click the OK button, then we're going to take whatever path that is and put it into a variable. So we need to put this variable in. Let's make it a module level variable. So let's see, what do we call it? Private and let's make it a string. Okay, so we don't want too many of these on the module level, but one is okay. So we have a label from the grid, and the text on that is going to be changed so that the path that's selected when the dialog box is clicked OK is going to be stored there. And we've also got a label which we called display, and we're going to have the text on that to display, click the grid button to display the files located in, and then whatever path that is. Okay, so we're done with that. Let's go back to design view. Let's go over to the grid. Now, from our previous exercise, we had some code, and I'm not going to use very much of it, but how about if I use just a few lines? Now, this code should look familiar if you've just watched the previous exercise. Now, I'm not using all of the code, but I don't really need to. I'm just going to grab some information from those files. So what's going to happen here is that when we click on the button for folders, it's going to bring up a dialog box. We're going to go to some folder on our computer, click the OK button, and when we do, we're going to store that path of wherever that was at into our variable, and then we can display that onto one of our labels. Okay. Now that we've got that, we can click on the grid button, and what it's going to do is it's going to allow us to take that information from the folder and store that, and that path is going to be right here. So it's going to get those files from the path, and it's going to allow us to display that information in our grid. So before we were in the previous exercise, you were looking at the current directory. Now what we've done is that we picked our own directory that we're going to display the system information on. So all the system files and whatever path we choose should be displayed in the grid. Okay, I think that's it. Let's go ahead and try that. I'm going to debug, start debugging. And we've got our really simple application here. See if our dialog box works. Click on folder, and there's our dialog box. And it started at the C drive. So that's the one that's selected. Well, let's expand that. There's not going to be much there. So let's see if we can find one where there's a lot of system files, which would be Windows is a good one to go with. So I'm going to click OK on that. And when I do, it says OK. It shows Windows. It says click the grid button to display the files located in C:\Windows. So click the grid button, and it should populate our grid. And there it is. So here's all the information from the system files under Windows. And we can scroll down and see, of course, there's a bunch of files in there. So a little bit more of a practical application of how we can go browse for a folder and pull up all the information that we want. So input from the user allows us to use our LINQ to pull up any information that we want from our computer. So we can use LINQ to query any source, in this case files on our computer. and we could sort these by name. We could rearrange them. We could filter them out. We could only have certain columns. Any information that you would use in SQL to query a database, well, you can do the same thing here. Okay, that'll do it.